You mentioned your friend Sluggo, and I know you've probably answered this question 100 times, but I want to hear it from the man himself. Speaking of nicknames, how did you become Angry Anderson? How did you get the nickname Angry?
The original nickname was the Angry Ant, because there's a very unfortunate joke about an ant and an elephant, but that's another story altogether. If you don't know the joke, I'll tell you later. Yeah, there was a friend of mine. I was still living in Melbourne. It was when I was singing with Buster Brown,
Right.
and there was a dealer in exotic substances, a legendary guy around Melbourne called Mangy Mick Maluzak. And he passed himself off as a Russian gypsy. Anyway, Maluzak, I'm not too sure. He's got it all.
Yeah.
There's the bus. Probably the second worst cover in the history of Australian rock and roll.
Well, the back photo, Angry, is fantastic.
Yeah, that's classic, isn't it?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Phil's jeans are spectacular.
The thing about Rudd is because his surname is Rudd Savages, right? So he's of a European ethnic persuasion. When we were younger, we used to call them wogs. But so the fashion in those days was like 16, 18 or 20-inch flared bottoms.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But so when he went to the tailor, the tailor said, "Well, you want 20s?" And he went, "No, I want 22s." Because he wanted to be. Rudd's always been like that. He wants to be cooler than cool, like so. Yeah,
well,
yeah.
He changed the world of drumming. I mean, guy's a clock. He's a clock.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about him. The beauty of his playing is its simplicity.
Oh yeah. See, I don't
and he is a clock. Yeah, he keeps great time.
Amazing.
A lot of people, especially in America, may not even realize that prior to Rose Tattoo, you sang for this band Buster Brown, and Phil Rudd was the drummer. We all kind of became familiar with Phil Rudd through AC/DC in America.
Yeah.
But so you do have that history with him. But back to your nickname, Angry. So how did you get that?
So anyway, there was we used to drink at this pub called the Station Hotel, which was opposite a train station in a inner Melbourne suburb called Parad. And so because it was an inner suburb, there was a lot of small what we call colonial. It's from the post-colonial days, but like terrace housing. So there was lines built on the English model. There was lines and lines of houses exactly the same, and they're joint, right? So it's a low income established place. So there was this pub frequented by it was a muso's pub, particularly at weekends, but even during the week, you could go down there at lunchtime on a Tuesday, and there'd always been all these, this ne'er-do-well musos hanging around in the bar, right? So
perfect.
Actually, it was the first time I actually saw AC/DC play was at the Station Hotel. But anyway, Mangy Mick was, like I said, a dealer in exotic substances, and there was some sort of situation where he was owed money, and he told some money collectors that he knew, and they went and collected the money, and there was physical violence. Anyway, some weeks later, these people turned up at the pub, and there was altercation in the street. There was about 30 people involved. And anyway, we all go back into the pub after they'd left, and we're all bloodied and battered, And Mangy made the comment. He said, "Hey, what about?" In those days, my nickname was Mouse, and I said, "What?" Mick just sort of just came out with this classic line. He said, "What about the angry ant?" You know, and there I'm standing there with the fucking fat lip and dry blood on my nose, and like. And he said, and because it equates to, anyway, there was a big fat bloke and he was drunk as a lord. So I jumped on his back and he's hit the ground and knocked himself out, and everyone thought I was responsible for knocking him out. So the ant and the elephant. Anyway, what about the angry ant? And, I got a round of applause, and, since then it was the angry ant. And, hey, angry ant, and then after a couple of weeks, which is the Australian way, they abbreviate everything.
Yeah. Like
my nickname at school was Ando, because my surname's Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, so after a while, it just dropped back to angry. And I think the basis of it was that I remember saying to Mange, because he and I used to share flats or apartments or houses back in the day with the other band members, etc. And a bunch of ne'er-do-wells, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I said to him, everyone's starting to call me angry. It's so fucking cool. And he goes, man, he said, and he just, because he was a big solid man, and all my best friends are big solid men, by the way.
By default.
It's a survival device.
Sure. I get it. I need some bigger friends myself.
Yeah. All my best mates are all fucking big cunts. Anyway, he said, mate, he said, you're like an angry little rat. He said, you're disproportionately angry for your size, but that was the result of, let's not get, too deep and morbid about it, but that was a product. It's actually in the book of my upbringing. My father was little. He was a jockey, my biological father.
Okay.
And one of the first things he taught me when I was a kid was how to fight, how to box. He was a Golden Gloves, what they call a Golden Gloves boxer.